In recent days, as the Russian-Ukrainian war continues, Ukrainian forces have dealt a major blow to Russia with their successful operations. The plans of Russia, aimed at taking over Ukraine, did not hold, and it continues to lose day by day. The Ukrainian army with all its might is attacking the invading Russian army and inflicting serious damage. Finally, Ukraine shot down an oil refinery in Russia during its operation. After this operation, Russia was shot in the heart. The fact that such a large operation was conducted on the territory of Russia surprised even the Russians. The strategically important Novoshakhtinsk refinery, located in the Rostov region of Russia, 50 kilometers from the border with Ukraine, was forced to stop production after the attack. It was announced that the Siha that hit the refinery was the Ukrainian-made Ukrspec Systems PD-1. According to reports, the Russian oil refinery was able to extinguish the fire that broke out after the attack in 4 hours. One of the most important issues of this operation is that it is a refinery that provides fuel for military vehicles used in the military operation conducted by Russia in Ukraine. After this successful operation of the Ukrainian forces, the refinery lost its function and is currently unable to provide fuel. Ukraine also dealt a blow to an important source of enemy forces with this operation. An official statement on the matter from Russia has not yet been received, but the Ukrainian front has announced that they have successfully completed this operation. After the coup d'état against Russia in this operation, Russian President Vladimir Putin experienced another shock. Putin's most trusted man, Colonel Vadim Zimin, was found shot in the head at his home. Putin never left his most important man, Vadim Zimin, or even carried the nuclear bag with the coordinates of nuclear weapons to him. Recently, Russian President Putin attended the funeral of Russian nationalist Vladimir Zhirinovsky in Moscow in April with roses in his hands. However, the bag held by the name behind it attracted attention long before Putin attended the ceremony. Colonel Vadim Zimin, 53, was the name that held the nuclear bag carrying the launch devices for the Kremlin's strategic missiles. Vadim Zimin, a retired colonel, was attached to the Federal Security Service and was involved in important tasks, including transporting a nuclear bag. Zimin was found with a gunshot wound to the head in the kitchen of his apartment in Krasnogorsk. It was announced that Zimin's doctor wife was not at home at that time. She was in the hospital for treating Russian soldiers wounded in the Russia-Ukraine war. Things are not going well for Russia. War plans and invasion plans have not been enough so far. They found a more resilient Ukrainian army than they had ever expected. Undoubtedly, one of the reasons why Ukraine is so resilient is the serious support given by Western countries to Ukraine. According to the latest developments in this regard, the EU will continue its support for Ukraine. The support of almost the entire West for Ukraine has also made the invading Putin quite uncomfortable. Speaking at a virtual BRICS meeting, Russian President Putin called for cooperation against the West. Putin called on the leaders to cooperate against the selfish actions of the West. Putin said in his statement, "Only on the basis of honest and mutually beneficial cooperation can we look for ways out of this crisis situation that has developed in the global economy due to the selfish actions of some states." Attempts to damage the Russian economy have failed, the Russian leader said, stressing that confidence in global currencies has been undermined. Reacting to the sanctions, Putin had intimidated the West with the words, "Nothing will be the same in global politics anymore." Russia continues to step back every day. The fact that Putin addressed the West and softened his statements is the biggest indicator of this. Because Russia has not been able to give Ukraine the upper hand in many areas so far. One of the most important issues that he could not prevail over is the air offensive. The fact that Russia could not achieve air superiority in Ukraine in any way was considered one of the biggest surprises of the war, while the top general of the U.S. Air Force, Charles Brown Jr., made striking statements about this issue. Most of the weapons in the hands of Ukraine are the same as those in the hands of Russia. So Russia actually faced its own weapons in Ukraine. It was expected that Russia would adequately recognize most of the weapons of its own production and find a way to defeat them. Despite the heavy arms aid from the West, like other former Soviet republics, Ukraine still uses military equipment, mostly of Soviet origin. It is known that the Ukrainian troops shot down Russian aircraft with the Soviet-designed S-300 air defense system, while the Russian pilots themselves. One of the most discussed issues of recent days has become why the system they have designed does not know the vulnerabilities. Brown is backed by thousands of portable weapons, including US-made Stinger missiles supplied by NATO countries. He stressed that the Ukrainian army is now much more dynamic, and this makes things much more difficult for Russia. Speaking of air superiority, let's also tell you about the Russian Su-25 fighter jet that crashed on the Ukrainian border. A Su-25 fighter jet belonging to the Russian Air Force has reportedly crashed in the city of Rostov, located on the Russian border with Ukraine. The statement said that the fighter jet was flying without ammunition, adding, "In the accident, the plane crashed into a deserted terrain." It is understood the pilot died at the scene. According to preliminary data, it is assumed that the accident occurred due to a technical malfunction. A commission affiliated to the Russian Aerospace Forces is conducting investigations at the scene, it said. Ukraine has called on the West for weapons in order to maintain its superiority over Russia. Ukrainian President Zelensky, on the other hand, reiterated his demand for heavy weapons. Zelensky used to call on the West to accelerate the shipment of heavy weapons equivalent to Russia on the battlefield. There are big air and artillery attacks in Donbass, Zelensky said, adding, "They want to destroy Donbass step by step. Lysychansk, Sloviansk, Kramatorsk. They are aiming to turn any of these cities into Mariupol."